Have you ever felt like your own thoughts are working against you? It's a common experience, and it brings us to an important question. Can our minds really be our worst enemy? Let's explore this idea together and learn how to be careful about what we think. Our minds are incredibly powerful tools. They help us solve problems, create amazing things, and navigate the world around us. But sometimes our thoughts can turn against us, leading to stress, anxiety, and unhappiness. This is why it's so important to understand how our minds work and learn to manage our thoughts effectively. When we talk about the mind being our worst enemy, we're referring to those times when our thoughts seem to spiral out of control. Maybe you've had moments where you can't stop worrying about something, or you keep replaying a negative experience in your head. These are examples of how our thoughts can work against us. But here's the good news. We have the power to change these patterns. By understanding how our minds work and learning some simple techniques, we can take control of our thoughts and use our minds to our advantage. Let's start by looking at some common negative thought patterns. One of the most frequent is called catastrophizing. This is when we assume the worst possible outcome in any situation. For example, if we make a small mistake at work, we might immediately think we're going to get fired. Another common pattern is all or nothing thinking, where we see things in black and white terms with no middle ground. These negative thought patterns can have a big impact on our lives. When we constantly think negatively, it affects our mood, our relationships, and even our physical health. Studies have shown that persistent negative thinking can lead to increased stress levels, which in turn can weaken our immune system and make us more susceptible to illness. So how can we recognize when we're falling into these harmful thought patterns? One way is to pay attention to how we're feeling. If we notice that we're feeling anxious, depressed, or overwhelmed, it might be a sign that our thoughts are heading in a negative direction. Another clue is to listen to our inner dialogue. If we find ourselves using words like always, never, or everyone, it could be a sign that we're engaging in all or nothing thinking. Understanding the science behind our thought patterns can be really helpful. Our brains are constantly changing and adapting, a process known as neuroplasticity. Every time we think a thought, it creates a neural pathway in our brain. The more we think that thought, the stronger the pathway becomes. This is why negative thought patterns can be so hard to break. We've reinforced them over time, but the good news is that we can create new positive pathways just as easily. Now that we understand how our thoughts work, let's talk about some practical strategies for positive thinking. One of the most effective techniques is mindfulness. This involves paying attention to our thoughts in the present moment, without judgment. When we practice mindfulness, we can observe our thoughts without getting caught up in them. This gives us the space to choose which thoughts we want to focus on. Another powerful tool is reframing. This involves looking at a situation from a different perspective. For example, instead of seeing a challenge as a threat, we can view it as an opportunity to learn and grow. Reframing doesn't change the situation itself, but it can completely change how we feel about it. Self-talk is another important aspect of managing our thoughts. This is the internal dialogue we have with ourselves throughout the day. Often, we're not even aware of this dialogue, but it has a big impact on how we feel and behave. By becoming more aware of our self-talk and consciously choosing more positive and supportive language, we can significantly improve our mood and outlook. Building mental resilience is also crucial in managing our thoughts. Resilience is the ability to bounce back from difficulties and adapt to change. We can build resilience by practicing self-care, maintaining strong relationships, and setting realistic goals for ourselves. When we're resilient, we're better equipped to handle negative thoughts when they do arise. Developing daily habits for a healthier mind is another key strategy. This could include things like regular exercise, which has been shown to improve mood and reduce stress. Getting enough sleep is also crucial, as lack of sleep can make us more vulnerable to negative thinking. Eating a balanced diet, staying hydrated, and limiting alcohol and caffeine can all contribute to a healthier mind as well. It's important to remember that changing our thought patterns is a process, and there will be setbacks along the way. When negative thoughts do resurface, it's not a failure. It's a normal part of the process. The key is to be patient with ourselves and to keep practicing our new thinking habits. As we work on managing our thoughts, we'll start to notice positive changes in our lives. We might find that we're feeling more confident, more optimistic, and better able to handle stress. These changes can have a ripple effect, improving our relationships and our overall quality of life. Remember, our minds are powerful tools, but they need guidance and care. By being mindful of our thoughts and practicing positive thinking techniques, we can harness the power of our minds for our benefit rather than letting them work against us. Let's dive deeper into some of the strategies we've mentioned. Mindfulness, for example, is more than just a buzzword. It's a powerful technique that can help us gain control over our thoughts. When we practice mindfulness, we're training our brains to focus on the present moment. This can be as simple as taking a few minutes each day to sit quietly and focus on our breath. As thoughts come up, we acknowledge them without judgment and then gently bring our attention back to our breath. This practice helps us create a bit of space between ourselves and our thoughts. Instead of getting caught up in a whirlwind of worries or negative self-talk, we can observe our thoughts more objectively. Over time, this can help us respond to our thoughts more intentionally, rather than reacting automatically. Reframing is another powerful tool in our mental toolkit. It's all about changing the way we interpret situations. For instance, if we make a mistake, our first thought might be, "I'm such a failure." But with reframing, we can change that thought to something like, "I'm learning and growing from this experience." This doesn't deny the reality of the situation, but it puts it in a more positive and constructive light. Practicing reframing can take some effort at first, but it gets easier with time. One way to start is by challenging our negative thoughts. When we catch ourselves thinking negatively, we can ask questions like, "Is this thought really true?" Or "What evidence do I have for and against this thought?" Often, we'll find that our negative thoughts aren't based on facts, but on assumptions or fears. Let's talk more about self-talk, which is a crucial aspect of our thought patterns. Our self-talk is like a running commentary in our heads, and it can have a huge impact on how we feel and behave. Unfortunately, for many of us, this inner voice can be quite critical. We might find ourselves saying things to ourselves that we would never say to a friend. Changing our self-talk involves becoming more aware of our inner dialogue and consciously choosing more supportive language. Instead of saying, "I can't do this," we can say, "This is challenging, but I'm capable of figuring it out." Instead of "I'm not good enough," we can say, "I'm doing my best and that's enough." It's important to note that the goal isn't to eliminate all negative thoughts. That's not realistic, and negative emotions can sometimes be useful signals that something in our lives needs attention. The goal is to create a more balanced inner dialogue, one that's supportive and constructive rather than overly critical. Building mental resilience is another key aspect of managing our thoughts. Resilience doesn't mean we never experience negative thoughts or emotions. Instead, it's about how quickly we can recover from setbacks and adapt to change. Resilient people still face challenges and feel stress, but they're able to bounce back more quickly. We can build resilience in several ways. One is by cultivating a growth mindset, the belief that we can learn and improve through effort and experience. This mindset helps us see challenges as opportunities for growth rather than insurmountable obstacles. Another way to build resilience is by strengthening our support network. Having people we can turn to for support and encouragement can make a big difference in how we handle stress and negative thoughts. This doesn't mean we need a huge social circle. Even one or two close supportive relationships can be incredibly valuable. Practicing self-care is also crucial for building resilience. This includes taking care of our physical health through diet, exercise, and sleep, as well as engaging in activities that bring us joy and relaxation. When we take good care of ourselves, we're better equipped to handle life's challenges and less likely to get caught in negative thought patterns. Now let's explore some daily habits that can contribute to a healthier mind. Regular exercise is one of the most powerful tools we have for improving our mental health. Exercise releases endorphins, which are natural mood boosters. It also helps reduce stress and anxiety, improves sleep, and boosts self-esteem. Even a short walk each day can make a big difference. Getting enough sleep is another crucial habit for maintaining a healthy mind. When we're sleep deprived, we're more likely to experience negative thoughts and emotions. Aim for 7 to 9 hours of sleep each night and try to maintain a consistent sleep schedule. What we eat can also affect our thoughts and mood. A balanced diet that includes plenty of fruits, vegetables, whole grains, and lean proteins can help keep our brains functioning optimally. Staying hydrated is also important. Even mild dehydration can affect our mood and cognitive function. Limiting alcohol and caffeine can also help. While these substances might provide temporary relief from stress or fatigue, they can disrupt our sleep patterns and contribute to anxiety in the long run. Another helpful daily habit is practicing gratitude. Taking a few minutes each day to reflect on what we're grateful for can shift our focus from what's going wrong to what's going right in our lives. This doesn't mean ignoring problems or pretending everything is perfect. It's about recognizing the good things in our lives, even when we're facing challenges. It's important to remember that changing our thought patterns is a process, and it takes time. There will be days when negative thoughts creep back in, and that's okay. The key is to be patient with ourselves and to keep practicing our new thinking habits. When we do experience setbacks, it can be helpful to view them as opportunities for learning rather than failures. We can ask ourselves questions like, what triggered these negative thoughts? Or, what can I learn from this experience? This approach helps us maintain a growth mindset and keeps us moving forward. As we continue to work on managing our thoughts, we'll likely start to notice positive changes in our lives. We might find ourselves feeling more confident and optimistic. We might be better able to handle stress and challenges. Our relationships might improve as we become more positive and resilient. These changes can have a ripple effect, improving many aspects of our lives. When we feel more positive and confident, we're more likely to take on new challenges and pursue our goals. We might find ourselves being more creative and productive at work. We might be more open to new experiences and opportunities. It's also worth noting that our thoughts don't just affect us, they can affect those around us too. When we're constantly negative, it can bring down the mood of our friends, family, and co-workers. On the other hand, when we cultivate positive thoughts, we can help create a more positive environment for everyone around us. While our minds can sometimes feel like our worst enemy, they don't have to be. By understanding how our thoughts work and learning to manage them effectively, we can turn our minds into our greatest allies. Remember, it's not about never having negative thoughts. It's about learning to respond to our thoughts in a way that supports our well-being and helps us live our best lives. So, as you go about your day, pay attention to your thoughts. Notice when negative patterns start to emerge and practice using the techniques we've discussed to shift your thinking in a more positive direction. Be patient with yourself, celebrate your progress, and remember that every small step counts. Your mind is a powerful tool, and with practice and patience, you can learn to use it to create the life you want. So be careful what you think, because your thoughts have the power to shape your reality. Start today and see how changing your thoughts can change your life.